GM. Today's lesson I'm going to talk about decision making, specifically about making big decisions. So when you're thinking about making a big decision, a life-altering one, it could be a new job, it could be moving to a new city, moving to a new country, moving to a new career or starting a new business, or leaving an old career, moving to a new sector. It could be quitting a job to go full-time trading. It could be a relationship thing. Any of those big decisions that you know that the moment you do it, whether you tell the person, tell the boss, tell yourself, it's irreversible, right? Don't rush it, first of all, because I get this question a lot about making these big decisions. As you can imagine, with the campus and boot camp and big goals, a lot of people want to move jobs, a lot of people want to go full-time trading, a lot of people want to, make big changes. Understand the enormity of what you're doing. Don't put something out there until you are certain. And it doesn't mean you're certain of the outcome. It doesn't mean you're certain that you're right. But you're certain that it's the decision that you must take. Don't hint about quitting your job, right? Don't just throw it out there and test it. It's something you have to consider deeply within your own mind, your own mindset, your own life, before you ever make that decision. And by the time you say, yes, I'm quitting, yes, I'm moving here, yes, I'm breaking up, whatever it's going to be, you must have considered every possible outcome and came to a decision to know that even though I don't know if it's the right thing to do or not, meaning, is it going to turn out favorably or not, I do know that it's the best decision to make with all the information available to me and all the cards on the table. Life is about tough decisions. And the worst thing you can do is procrastinate and hesitate on a decision once you already know. Once you already know deep down what the correct thing to do is, then you just got to do it. Otherwise, it's going to eat away at you and you're going to be left hesitant. And it's going to affect your future decision making because you're going to remember that time you hesitated on the previous one. Big decisions are tough and they can have knock-on effects for other people, obviously, within work or within personal life. So it's something that you really should consider deeply. Don't tell anybody until you feel you're ready and you know that you're not going to go back on the decision. Because once you let that out, right, once you let that genie out of the bottle, can't go back in. And consider that as well, right? Consider that once this is out in the open, I have to deal with the consequences, good or bad. So when you're doing that, and this also comes into the realm in a much lesser sense, into the realm of trading, because in reality, trading is nothing compared to, the bigger decisions of life. Every trade you take falls under a similar approach. You shouldn't enter a trade until you've considered all the variables. You shouldn't execute that trade until you know your plan, both for getting in and for getting out. You shouldn't execute a trade until you've considered all the variables. This was in one of the Market Wizards book, actually. I was listening to it earlier. And one of the guys being interviewed said, it was about having conviction in a trade and having good psychology and not being fearful and not being, in a bad mental state for trading. And he said, it should be very easy. Most people have doubts in a trade or fear or anxiety, whatever you want to call it. Most people have those feelings because they have not considered the full set of possibilities. They haven't actually gone through and thought, here's the beginning of the trade idea. Here's what could go right. Here's what could go wrong. Here are the targets. Here are the risks. Here are the benefits. Here's the confirming factors. Here's the rejection and validation factors. They consider the whole thing and the duration. This trade's going to be 6 weeks or 6 days or 6 minutes. It's going to be 6 years. It could be anything. They've actually considered all of these things. So much like the decision-making framework I mentioned a minute ago, they're doing the same thing. And the parallels are similar. And it crosses over from everyday life into the markets. So to become a better decision maker, you have to become a better thinker. To become a better thinker, you have to very simply sit down, get a piece of paper, actually write it down. What are the pros and cons of the decision I'm going to take? If it's a trade, write it again. Write out all the plan. What can go wrong, what can go right. How much you win if you're right, how much you lose if you're wrong. How much risk you're willing to take. Time-based invalidation, price-based invalidation, the whole lot. And if it's a life decision, same thing. What can go wrong, what can go right. Who's impacted by me making this decision? Is it just me or is it other people? I have to consider the other people then. What happens if I quit the job? Does that leave the job? Does that leave my boss stuck? What if I start my business? What if I close my business? Consider all of these factors, especially the ones that are tough to confront. They're the most important ones to consider. So that when you come to making the decision, you know that it's the best probabilistic decision. And this is important, especially in relationships or stuff that's not directly work. A lot of emotions involved. You're thinking with your heart, but you have to think with your head. Thinking with your head first, to be rational about it, will help you then when the inevitable emotions come up that make you want to change your mind or do something that you know is the wrong thing to do. Keeps you grounded, keeps you in check. And then, before you make the decision or when you make the decision, whether it's a trade or a business or a job or anything, understand, you are now making the decision. You are not guaranteeing the outcome. You're deciding to do the thing that you know is right, at least per your analysis. You don't know if it's going to turn out to be the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. But if you've considered all the factors and you take the decision with your eyes open and it was the best move on the board at that time, then you can sleep well at night. Then you know, as tough as it was, you did the right thing.